Little Red Riding Hood, the previously untold version, by Eric Cowen, Carl Peterson, and Neil Tracy. Once upon a time, in the outskirts of a small village near a large forest in the countryside, lived a pretty little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. This was not her real name, but it was what everybody knew her as, because she was always wearing a red sweater with a hood that her adoring grandmother had made for her. Everyone in the village loved Little Red very much, but none quite like her grandmother, and Little Red loved her grandmother very much in return. Early one morning, having baked some delicious cakes the night before, Little Red's mother prepared a basket for Little Red to take to her grandmother, as the local hunter had sent word that grandmother was feeling a little sick. Her mother, knowing how adventurous Little Red was, said, "Now, my dear, you make sure to take this basket of goods straight to your grandmother's cottage. Visit with her and be back before mid-afternoon, much before dark, so you have time for your chores." "I promise I will do just that," Little Red replied. So Little Red set out for her grandmother's, who lived in a cottage on the other side of the forest, about 10 miles' walk through the woods from Little Red's parents' house. Little Red had made this walk many times before, to visit her beloved grandmother, and being a brave little girl, she was not the least bit afraid to walk through the woods by herself. She was not even afraid on this day, when only a short while after entering the woods, she was approached by a wild and wily little wolf. The wolf spoke to her politely in his deep voice. "Good day, little girl. Where might you be marching off to?" Little Red, seeing no harm in talking to the wolf, replied, "Well, Mr. Wolf, I am going to my grandmother's cottage along this path on the other side of the woods. She is feeling ill, and I am taking her cakes and some goodies for my mother to help her get better." The wolf, not sure of the best way to make a meal out of Little Red and her basket of goodies, thought he could buy himself some time by distracting her. "If you don't mind me saying, I think it's a shame for you to be rushing through the woods on this fine and glorious day. Perhaps you could enjoy your walk more by taking your time and picking some wildflowers for your dear old grandmother." Looking around her, Little Red realized that the wolf was right. It was a beautiful sunny spring day, and all the spring flowers were in bloom. "You're right, Mr. Wolf. I should take my time and pick grandmother some flowers. I think she would like that very much." Unaware of the wolf's wicked and cunning plan, Little Red wandered off into the meadows, collecting wildflowers beneath the tall trees of the forest, and temporarily forgetting her promise to her mother. Satisfied by his wit of distracting Little Red from her mission, the wolf slipped on his thinking cap and came up with a bright idea. A master plan to eat Little Red, the basket of goodies, and the grandmother too. He thought to himself, "I will swiftly run to the grandmother's cottage before Little Red, trick the old woman into letting me in by pretending to be the little girl. I will gobble up the old woman and disguise myself in her clothes. Then, when the little girl comes, I will gobble her up too, and eat the delicious cakes for dessert, and no one will know." He grinned wickedly to himself as he slipped away and began sprinting towards the grandmother's cottage.